is rocking. Look. Oh, folks, look, my security is actually come. Now she comes. You were supposed to be here about 30 minutes ago. You know what, Kamala? At the end of the day, I hired you and I gave you a week off. So guess what? I don't need you. You know what? Just like how you failed last month, you know what? You're fired! Good riddance. Now, I hope you guys had a great week because I know I did. I am back here in the studios of Saturday Afternoon's main event. I'm glad you guys are here with me. I am here with you because I'm here to provide for you, the audience of Saturday Afternoon's main event. Folks, I did not come alone. I have two co-hosts. The first guy I'm about to talk about, I really, truly looked at his contract. His contract is ironclad. I spoke to my lawyer. I tried to get rid of him, but I couldn't. Then my lawyer actually told me that I actually have a loophole in my contract, but we won't discuss any of that. But anyway, it's time to introduce my co-host. Here's the limousine riding, jet flying, wheeling, dealing son of a gun. I will never give him two claps. His name is the Peeps Nate.
I'll take the other clap. Woo! Yes, we are here once again on another great Saturday afternoon. And of course, we can't do a great Saturday afternoon with not those 3 commandments of training, saying your prayers, and eating your vitamins. No, that's passe. What we do have are 3 tenets important to a great Saturday afternoon. That's laughs, good times, and all the wrestling news possible. And speaking of good times, we want you to have good times with us on our show by reaching us. For those, first of all, if you're joining us on Twitch, if you're joining us on YouTube, we thank you. We humbly thank you for joining us. If you want to get to us, though, on our establishment that we call Saturday Afternoons Main Event, you get us on Instagram. And our tag for that one is Saturday Afternoons _main event. You want to get to us on X, that's at Saturday Main. And if you want to get to us on TikTok, it's Saturday Afternoons ME. Those are all of our handles for you to get a hold of us when you want to get all of that great wrestling news in a no scat-free zone. There we go. And of course, I'm not the only one here. Who else is with us?
That's right. So we have a third co-host. That third co-host, he is a good friend of mine. To you guys, he is Mr. 411. But to me, he's been a staple 25 years ago on the original Saturday Afternoons main event. He is my good friend, Christopher Morton, Mr. 411. Welcome.
Hi, guys.
Hi, guys.
Hey, Chris.
By the way, I was trying not to fall asleep. I don't know how you deal with this every week. I was trying so hard not to fall asleep listening to Nate drone on and on and on. I mean, and he's drinking already.
Hey, stop drinking. Stop freaking drinking. You don't drink. You don't open up the show and you start drinking, Nate. You don't drink on my program. This is my program.
I think we may have lost half the audience with him telling us how we can watch the show instead of just.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's important to plug the show. Speaking of shows, don't you have your own show yourself? Don't you have a podcast yourself that you do?
Morton's Law Podcast. You can check out past episodes of some of my stand-up comedy, some of the stuff I say. And you can also follow me on X, Morton's Law Podcast, where I will say anything. I actually lost a handful of followers this week. I don't know, maybe they were AEW people that were following me, and they just went, "You can't say that about AEW."
Well, maybe you can't say that on Morton's Law Podcast, and they'll I guess don't want to come back to you. But guess what? You can say whatever you want here, and they'll still follow you here. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, Morton. But anyway.
Yeah, I know. You know what? People come, people go, just like women. By the way, did you say this is a no skeet zone?
Oh, Skeet. Oh boy. Yeah, it's gonna be one of those shows, folks.
Or is it a
Yeah.
no yeet zone? Which
Yeet.
Well, folks, we have a stacked show today, so we will get to everything here on Saturday afternoon's main event. But before we get to Wrestling Crash Course, I want to talk about last week's War Games. What were your thoughts on the main event of the War Games, the men's War Games between OG Bloodline and Solo's Bloodline? And I'll start with you, Nate.
It was violent. It was story driven. It showed a lot of the friction between the two. And even before the match started, how they divided each team into those separate cages. And you could see how the brooding was happening, the machinations in place between CM Punk and Roman Reigns. And that was, I think, the main driving story within this entire match, of that dynamic with Paul Heyman coming out at various parts of the matches. You got to be a team. But that part was kind of lifted away, so to speak, because of the back and forth of either the non-trust or the reasoning behind why CM Punk was with the original Bloodline. And I think that played in really, really well. Chris, what do you think about what happened with the War Games, and what did you think how the match went and the way it ended?
Yeah, I mean, to your point, though, just talking about with CM Punk and Roman in the cage, and how Roman and then Punk finally walked past him when Roman was going to leave first.
Yes.
And then Punk goes to the cage. I thought it was really well done. I thought it was great. I mean, we're going to talk about all of the injuries in a second, but I mean, that was just crazy in all the certain spots. And then finally at the end, when Bronson Reed's going up the top and Punk saves Roman, and then we see Solo by himself, and then they go with that finish. Now, I know we talked about what finish would make sense. Now, we didn't get what we were hoping for, which was a return of The Rock. So I don't know what's going to happen with that going forward. But I don't know. I was torn about Solo losing there. I mean, I know he came back strong last night on SmackDown, doing some things, trying to reestablish his name and him still being the tribal chief. But I don't know. I didn't love the fact that he lost.
Yes. I think that what they're trying to do is, I guess they wanted to give everybody a chance in the crowd to go home happy. I think that's the finish that they went with, and they gave you just enough breadcrumbs to kind of follow the trail as to there's just enough intrigue with CM Punk, but not giving you everything or any answers yet. They gave you more questions.
The one thing I took out of War Games, like you guys, we talked about last week, maybe The Rock appearing or maybe one of the members turning on each other. None of that happened. And sometimes, in professional wrestling, sometimes I feel we kind of worked ourselves up, thinking that maybe The Rock would show up or somebody's going to turn on each other. And yet they left it simple, but yet still questions that needs to be answered. And at the end of War Games, you saw when Punk was exiting the ring, they made sure you heard Punk tell Paul Heyman, hey, you still owe me that favor. And he will collect that favor. When, how, who knows? But obviously, that's for down the road. And of course, one of my pet peeves since doing the show, storytelling. So we may not have gotten what we wanted, but still, it was great because you got the little things with Roman and Punk in the cage before when Sammy left, and then Punk actually going before Roman. So you got those aspects. Roman spearing Punk. So again, like Morton said, as far as Solo getting his heat back, he got his heat back last night. He still got the Ulafala, so technically he's still the tribal chief, even though he did get, he still lost at War Games. But Nate, what about the injuries?
Oh boy, lots of injuries. Bronson Reed, who is without question one of the MVPs of that match, after he went for a tsunami off the cage, broke his ankle. I think he busted up both feet, but mostly one. I think his right ankle came down and he broke that ankle. He's going to be gone for quite some time. Tonga Loa tore his biceps. He's going to be out for quite some time. He already had his surgery. He was already in a cast. And
much.
Yes. And Jimmy Uso broke his toe, as we saw at the end of the show, as he was being carried out with help leaving the cage. So it's not like the War Games, anybody left unscathed. We didn't get any blood, which is what I thought we were going to see, at least a little bit of it. But as long as you have the violence worked. And that's what they did.
Right. Now, before we get to Wrestling Crash Course, something I did forget. Actually, I didn't forget. I just want to say, on the 10th consecutive week of the Uncle Triple C era, I just want to say that piece of hot garbage as I toast to the fact that the phenomenal one, my nephew, he's not here.
Oh, real quick, I'll ask the two of you for a few seconds. What do you think the favor is? What's Punk gonna ask for?
I think
that's a good question.
I think some way, somehow, because first of all, you gotta kind of put it into wrestling perspective. Heyman is not authority. He can't decide on when the person gets a title match. I feel some way, somehow, Paul Heyman will cost Roman Reigns some kind of a match where Paul Heyman will almost reluctantly rejoin CM Punk. That's my feeling. I think we're gonna get a heel CM Punk. That's
kind of along the lines that I'm thinking of. Somehow, maybe if we get towards, let's say, the Royal Rumble, and it has something to do with a pick, so to speak. Maybe he works some way to get CM Punk a higher pick in the Rumble. We'll have to switch numbers. Maybe give him a title match over Roman, something along those lines. I think that's where it's going to be.
All right, look.
So, Nate, just give me 1 second here. I've never seen this before. This person, the Creature of the Night. Granted, I am wearing my Undertaker shirt, but he says, in due time, you will know. Triple C, I see you.
Okay. That's a new one.
Speaking in riddles. I don't speak in riddles. I toast to the hot garbage not being here. Well, anyway, with that being said, now it is time. We got the War Games out the way. We got the injuries out the way. So now it's time for Wrestling Crash Course. Thank you. Now the first topic of the day for Wrestling Crash Course. What leads into, from the injuries, Drew McIntyre, which we saw on Monday Night Raw at the end of the main event of Sami Zayn and Seth Rollins, he is back. Mr. 411, thoughts on Drew returning?
Well, the biggest question is in terms of the injuries where we saw, of course, Jey Uso attacked during Raw, and then the big question mark is who attacked Jey Uso, and then, of course, Drew McIntyre appears at the end of the show, leading us to believe that it could have been him, but was it him? What if it's not him? What if there's so many things going on in WWE right now in terms of who attacked who. Like last night, for example, who attacked the Street Profits? Who attacked Jade Cargill? It's like a murder mystery. Like, well, we don't know what is going on right now. Everything is being, first of all, the backstage area is the most, I wouldn't want to be backstage because I'm going to be attacked back. I'm going to sit in the crowd until my match is due. That's it. I'm going to sit front row, and then I'm going to go to the ring. There's a chance I'm not going to get to the ring.
Boy, so, HR is going to be on speed dial in that company after all of that.
I mean, Drew coming back. Let's see what they do with this. I mean, him coming off that CM Punk loss, obviously him still being a great heel. I don't think much you can say is lost in terms of his character. He's still super over as a heel. And I'm curious where they go with this.
Yes. I'm very curious as to how they're going to make his side of the story as to why he did it believable. One of the things that I've talked about a lot on this show, and we've talked about also, is that the main reason why the storylines for the most part work in WWE is that the characters that are bringing up their grievances are not just grifting. They're out there telling you the reason why they feel something is wrong, and it's believable. It's one of those kinds of dynamics that is very hard to do, but if done consistently and correctly, makes you believe in a character's crusade as to why they're doing certain things. Like, you can listen to Kevin Owens, talk about the reason why he feels he is right. And if you listen to what he says, it may sound a little bit petty, but it works. Then you could listen to Cody Rhodes say something, and you can listen to his side and feel, you know what, he's got a point. Same thing here. If they do this with Drew and they develop it in the right way, he'll come up with some sort of angle that'll let you believe what he's saying is believable. And you could actually say, you know what, I can get on that. I could get with that. So maybe that's where they're going. That's what I'm very cautious on.
I'm sorry, again. Pardon me.
No, I was gonna say, as far as Drew goes, to your point, Chris. I mean, you're asking like who did it. I mean, I think even though they didn't say who did it, as far as attacking Jay on Monday night. I mean, to me, I think it's clear that it was Drew because Drew still has issues with Jay and the Bloodline. So, and Jay attacking Sammy at the end of Raw. So, I think Drew logically is the guy that did it. As far as Jade on SmackDown, who knows? Like you said, I think Drew, who's a great heel. I think now the next layer now because his business is done with Punk, and now he's moving on to Sami Zayn, and I'm sure Jey Uso. I think that's where we're going with Drew McIntyre. Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, I love that part of the match between Seth and Sammy when Seth is like, I didn't do it. When he has the chair to his face and he's going to slam him with the chair, he's like, I didn't do that. You know I wouldn't do such a thing. And Sammy had to pause and think about it. That's storytelling within the match. Yes. It was amazingly done. It was so well. And then I'm just going, oh, my goodness. And, of course, he rolls him up small package and beats him. And then Sammy has to look like, yeah, maybe he didn't do it. And then, boom, it comes through. So it was just...
And yet it was believable. That's the main thing. That's what worked.
All right. So that takes care of Drew coming back. So the next topic here on Wrestling Crash Course, WWE. I don't know how true this is, but they say they're staying PG on Netflix. I'll start with you, Nate. What are your thoughts on that?
I think going PG is probably the best move. I think that they are skirting what they would consider PG on network television. So if they keep that similar edge when they go to Netflix, it's the same kind of brand without it being too saccharine. They're not delving into the, extreme PG John Cena era, but they are showing just enough edge that it doesn't feel like it's PG. True, you're not going to get as much language as you probably people would have thought would happen when they move over to Netflix. And I don't really think it's needed. I think in special instances, it works. They are giving you blood because we see Jade Cargill being beaten up left on a car. We see Cody getting bloodied up by The Rock on television. So they do have instances where color is used and the violence is believable. So they don't necessarily need to go too far into, we're going to make this TV 14. They could, but it's not necessary right now. What do you think, Chris?
Well, I mean, how do I feel about WWE staying PG on Netflix? I think it's fucking bullshit. No.
Tell us how you really feel. I'll drink to that.
I'll let you drink on that one, Nate. That's the only time you are allowed to drink on Saturday afternoon's main event.
I might as well take advantage of it then. Go right on ahead.
Have a character created that has Tourette's, and they just go around dropping bombs on everybody, just cursing everywhere they go. So, I mean, you can only imagine some of the promos we'd get. Imagine what The Rock would say if he was allowed to say anything he wanted to.
And he's probably going to say some stuff. You assume that at the Intuit Dome, the first Raw on Netflix in January, the first Monday night, they obviously they showed that The Rock, they showed him, so he's going to be there. I'm sure there'll be some kind of cuss word that's going to come out of his mouth. If you're going to be like, oh my goodness, there's not going to be no PG on Netflix. So, we'll see what happens with that. So next topic here is staying on Wrestling Crash Course. Ryan Nemeth, brother of Nick Nemeth, CM Punk debacle. I'll start with you, Nate. What are your thoughts on Ryan Nemeth basically accusing AEW and this whole thing with CM Punk?
Well, this kind of goes back to last year as to when Ryan Nemeth was, in his own words, silently fired by AEW. Basically, he was supposed to be used in some kind of a feud. He wanted to be used in against CM Punk on Collision. And things didn't go the way they should have. Ryan Nemeth wanted to use a promo that was supposed to kind of cut CM Punk down and cut down other people in the company. And it looked like it delved on sounding personal. Tony Schiavone and the other people that listened to the promo and listened to what was going on basically said that they were okay with what happened and how it went down. And then there was a tweet that went up that Nemeth put up on, and I'm trying to pull it up right now. In any event, it didn't look good. And what happened after the tweet went live, Nemeth was then pulled off of AEW TV and was not booked for 2 months, which then led to him subsequently being quietly let go. And he then, as we know, went to TNA and joined his brother in TNA, and kind of the rest is history. So now he's got like a mini, like a complaint about that against the company. Now, Chris, what do you think that happening? Is that any good that has come out of this, or do you think that this is something is just another slight against AEW and how things were handled there?
Well, I mean, the one thing I'm curious about is when he did what he did in terms of wanting to do the promo on Punk is, now remember, this is when Punk was still on Collision and was essentially running Collision, so many people say. Did Punk say no to the promo? Is that what you're hearing? Because I didn't hear this part of the story.
Yeah, basically he said that they had the blessing to be able to use what he was going to say to do the promo and do what he said, but I guess that's where a lot of this is coming from. So I'm trying to pull up the tweet. He basically, Nemeth said that Punk is literally the softest man alive. Right. And I think, and he said that he was in character when he said the promo.
Right, that's fair. I mean, listen, if that's the case, well then, I mean, you know, it changes my tune in terms of Punk not allowing somebody, although he could look at Ryan Nemeth as being, let's be honest,
nobody.
Uncle, what'd you say? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
No, I was saying what? Ryan Nemeth, nobody?
Right, exactly. Yeah, curtain jerker. I mean, here comes the tweet. Here it is, Nate.
Okay, there you go. It is the
Lord of music. Let's hear him.
Wait. Warm up your triceps first. I don't want you any of those people walking, watch it so they don't break their foot. Fragile people. Are there any CM Punk fans here? Wait. Warm up your triceps first. I don't want you
Wow.
So I guess we can kind of see where CM Punk would have probably been a little bit perturbed hearing something like that.
All right, so here's the bottom line, though. Here's what happened afterwards, right? So he does that tweet or whatever. Punk confronts him backstage at Collision, and they get into it. And then apparently, like, Punk used his powers to pull him off, of course, you know, without question. My thing is this. Ryan Nemeth is lucky he didn't go on Twitter and talk about Andrade, because had he done that, he would have been punched in the face like Sammy Guevara. So in my view, he got off easy. Punk didn't punch him in the face the way Andrade would have. So, you know, be careful what you say about people who can confront you in person.
Right.
Yes.
So that takes care of Nemeth and Punk. Our next topic will be next week. Jesse the Body Ventura will be making his comeback to WWE television for Saturday night's main event.
Yes.
Well, I'll start with you first. What are your thoughts on Jesse returning for Saturday night's main event?
This is going to be amazing. Because we saw him last night on SmackDown sitting ringside briefly. Of course, he wasn't there for the whole. I love how they have somebody sit ringside, and you know, if the next shot you look over there and he's gone, like he was just there for that moment. So I mean, look, I imagine Jesse's following the product. He's gonna, if he wasn't, he is now. So he's gonna be on his game, and it's gonna be fun. I imagine. I mean, he should be paired with Cole. I wonder if they're gonna go with a 3-man booth and have Graves still there. That's a possibility to just limit Jesse and having to say too much. where he might not be as informed of the product. But still, just to hear him say, "Shut up, Cole," is gonna, we're gonna get that at some point. So
Yes.
just his energy, and you could see, despite his age, his advanced age, he still has that energy. So it should be fun.
Yes. I can't wait. I can't wait. My favorite color commentator is Jesse Body Ventura. As much as I love Bobby Heenan and I love all of the others that I've seen over the years, Ventura has a believability that what he sees is what actually happens, which is what one of the things that he talked about when he got the job with Vince. He said, if you believe it, then speak it. And that's all he does. He tells it like it is, McMahon. That's how he used to always call everything the way it was. And I cannot wait until just another week away. Just another week away. Can't wait.
Right. So Jesse coming back next Saturday at 8 o'clock on NBC for Saturday night's main event. The main event will be Cody Rhodes against Kevin Owens. So we should be a good show in Long Island, which was the first place that they ever held Saturday night's main event back in 1985. And Saturday night's main event is returning again next Saturday, I should say. So Jesse coming back, I'm looking forward to it. And like you guys said, shut up, Cole. And then before we go ahead for one
real quick, there's a great line that he has during, what was it, the Ultimate Warrior Ravishing Rick Rude match, right? I think it was no disqualification. And McMahon says anything goes. He's like, well, McMahon, you're saying if he pulled out a gun and shot him, he could do that? Get away with it? It's just a great line.
Well, too bad I can't shoot Nate on live television. But
hey,
listen, sorry. But anyway, before we go to break, Nate, can you give the fans the ratings for AEW and NXT, and if you have Raw also?
I'll give you the ratings for last week that we didn't get to for Dynamite because they were late because of the holiday. We had anticipated that they were going to have a low turnout. That Thanksgiving Eve, they did 537,000 fans, and they only did a 0.15 in the demographic. So let's go to this week, figuring is going to be better. NXT, 593,000, and they did 0.13 in the demo, whereas AEW Dynamite did 586,000 and 0.17.
Dynamite went up 50,000. NXT dropped significantly, which everyone's blaming Eric Bischoff for, because Bischoff was on NXT. Everyone's like, get Bischoff off our TV. He's a curse.
Man.
So Dynamite went up 50K, albeit being so low the previous week, but it's still not a good number. We talk about how they went from 1 million to 800,000. I'm talking about consistently over the course of time. And then now they're hovering on that 600 number. And it's just getting bad. And, we talked about next week, would it go into Matt? Last week, would it go into Max? I mean, if these numbers are like dwindling, I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know what happens. What does TBS do about that?
Yeah. Especially by the way, NXT.
The Collision and Rampage numbers, like 140,000 people last week, I believe, for both shows.
Ouch. But then again, weren't they on really early, like 4:00 in the afternoon on Saturday, which kind of threw everything off because they knew no one was going to watch going into the Survivor Series. They moved all of their programming from the Friday and the Collision earlier in the show, in the day.
That's fair, but I'm inclined to believe you could put color bars up and they would draw 140,000.
We'll see what they do next week going up against Saturday night's main event. So we'll see. Or unless they decide to move their show up again. So we'll see. But anyway, that takes care of the first half edition here on Saturday afternoon's main event. We'll be right back with your questions. New day, old school. We'll be right back after this. Peeps Nate, Mr. 411, Uncle Triple C, here on Saturday afternoon's main event. We'll be back after this. We are back here once again, toasting for the simple fact on the 10th consecutive week that piece of is muting me. Who is muting the uncle? I am your uncle, the Triple C. And to my right,
it is Peeps Nate, and right below me in this Brady bunch of ours,
Mr. 411. Hello, everybody. God bless.
Yeah.
Nate, give the people all the handles here on same, and don't take 30 minutes to give the people the handles.
Okay, I'll speed through it. If you want to get to us on Instagram, it's Saturday Afternoons _main event. You want to get to us on X, it's at Saturday Main. You want to get to us on TikTok, it's Saturday Afternoons ME. If you're joining us on Twitch or on YouTube, just type in Saturday Afternoons Main Event, and you'll get us right here. For those that are joining us, thank you very much. Spread the word. Saturday Afternoon's Main Event is live and in living color.
That was much better, Uncle Triple C. That was much better. See, you have to not only produce the show itself, but you have to produce Nate. When you produce Nate, he performs better.
You're absolutely right. Like again, Mr. 411, he is.
Oh boy.
Is getting. Listen, hey! Listen, let's get one thing perfectly clear. Are you producing this show or not? What? What do you mean? Interesting. My producer's telling me that he's not even touching anything. That's interesting.
Wow.
Well, anyway, we're back here again. Nate, Mr. 401, Uncle Triple C, every single Saturday, 12 o'clock Eastern time, every single Saturday, 9 o'clock Pacific, 11 o'clock Central, 10 o'clock Mountain, every single Saturday on all the social media handles. Please check us out.
Whoa. Well, what the heck was that? Wait, let me see. There's something on the screen by the creature of the night. When will you learn?
And we just lost Uncle Triple C.
Whoa.
What is going on here? Huh?
Yeah.
What
Is your producer messing with anything? Your producer?
I have to say my producer's not even touching anything.
Wow.
Something is going on here. After this show, I'm gonna have to end up finding out what has been going on here. But anyway, we are back here, Saturday Afternoon's Main Event. So the first order of business, I know this is one of his nature's favorite topics. Of course, segments I should say, is the questions. Of course, any questions you have, you can always reach us on all our social media handles. And if we don't get to you this week, we'll get to you definitely for sure. Guarantee you next week on our show. But anyway,
hey, Uncle Triple C, since you're apparently on the bottom screen, you think you can do a point toward the scroll to get the people to follow us? You know, just a point.
Wow.
Right there, Nate. Right there, Nate. Hey, stop drinking! Stop drinking!
I was just saying. And we're sure this isn't his producer?
Stop drinking! I should not be at the bottom of this screen. I should not be at the bottom of the screen. I should be at the top where I rightfully belong because this is the 10th consecutive week of Saturday Afternoon's Main Event under the Uncle Triple C era. First question of the day. You get to the damn question. First question.
Okay. First question. Greetings, gentlemen.
Hey, shut your mouth, Nate. Shut your mouth. Uncle Triple C.
Can I finish the question first? Let me finish the question first. Greetings, gentlemen, or is it Uncle Gentlemen? That's actually interesting. See, there you go. You've been placated in the questions. Okay, let me go ahead and finish the rest of the question. Who gets top billing on the show anyways? I do have a couple of questions kind of out of left field. Since each wrestling company has their rings constructed differently, which wrestling company had the best sounding ring when it comes to wrestling being slammed on the mat? I also like the sound of the WCW and ECW rings. The worst sounding rings is the current WWE ring. And does it add or detract from the overall enjoyment of the show?
Well,
that's a multi-layered question.
Yeah, it's a lot, but I'll take it because I know that they would mic up the WCW and ECW rings, so they were mic'd, so you get that sound and that bump. and it just sounded so much better. I agree with him. I feel like also in terms of the size of the rings, WCW and ECW rings were always smaller. I believe it was 16 or 18 feet versus the 20 feet in WWE. So I always like the smaller rings, not too small, of course, but their ring was just better, and it seemed more wrestling oriented versus the WWE ring looks like a boxing ring, so big. But yeah, I love that sound, that bumping sound.
Yes. And even going back to the first year that AEW was around, their rings actually did sound good. I don't know if they changed up their audio or how they presented the way the rings sounded when wrestlers were getting slammed and doing bumps, but it initially did sound good, and it's kind of gotten away from it on a degree. I loved listening to the old NWA rings when wrestlers would get involved, or even going back to the UWF. Those sounded really painful. If somebody got slammed on the ring on the UWF program, like Dr. Death's power slamming somebody with an Oklahoma Stampede, it sounded like somebody's back was getting broken. So
but let's be fair. For people who don't know, the rings are very hard. It's not easy. Like, they're not soft like people may think. There's cardboard underneath those rings, you know?
Yeah, it's cardboard and plywood. That's the hurts.
I'm sorry, I misspoke. Plywood, right. But yeah, it's nothing you want to be slammed on, trust me.
As far as Master Sean 007's question, first of all, the structure of the show and the way it is like I am the main host, and of course I have Peace H, and of course I have the 4-on-1 here on Saturday afternoon main event. As far as the ring go, I love the ECW sound, the old NWA. I guess when they transitioned to WCW, I do like their sound. And you're right, to WWE. Their sound does not, the ring does not sound as great as those other promotions, but I don't feel it takes away, from the overall aspect of watching a wrestling show. But Master Sean 007, thank you for that thoughtful and that long question, and I'm thankful also that you, of course, said "Uncle," your uncle. Okay, after this main event. Now, the second question of the day is from Tombstone City Adam.
And that question is, Jada Parker has phenomenal. Now see why the phenomenal one spoke highly of her. He knew talent. Missed the kid every day. What do you guys think of her?
Let me take that question.
Okay.
Jada Parker is fine as hell, so I will not say anything wrong about her. It's funny. I watched it, was it last week or maybe last week or the week before? I don't remember. I forget who she was wrestling. She actually said the N-word. I don't know if you guys.
What? Yeah, you're right.
She actually said the N-word. Moment. So it was I don't know if was it a moment for her. I don't know. But
she had a Booker T moment.
Yeah, so she did say it.
Wait, isn't Booker on the color commentary? That's even funnier that Booker's on the
show.
Yes,
man.
Right. That's right. As far as Tombstone talking about the phenomenal one that used to do this show, I mean, phenomenal one actually had a point because she is beautiful and she is very talented. I totally agree with you, Tombstone City Adam, but do me one favor. You don't need to emphasize about that old piece of hot garbage that used to do this show. Who cares what he thinks? Because he doesn't.
Uh-oh, here we go.
Oh, boy.
I don't know. We might have to look into potential...
Let's get to the third question. Let's just get to the third question. I'm sorry, guys. Let's get to the third question.
Okay. Third question. This is from Long Island Isaiah. Dom Mysterio getting chance wasn't on my bingo card. How happy is the Triple C?
He didn't say uncle, by the way. He didn't say uncle.
And first of all, Long Island Isaiah, it's Uncle Triple C. Now, first and foremost, let's get one thing perfectly clear. Don't start jumping, Long Island Isaiah, on the greatest North American champion of all times bandwagon, because you and everybody else, now you want to start jumping on my boy, Dom Mysterio's bandwagon, because I know this past Monday night, all of you, people that are watching right now, the whole WWE universe and Saturday afternoon's main event universe, which is bigger than WWE universe. I know all of you saw it and heard it. Dirty Dom chance. You heard it. My boy will become I guarantee you he will become not only a babyface, he will be one of the biggest baby faces, I guarantee you, within next year or in 2 years. I guarantee from your uncle, Triple C. Now, please, indulge me, guys, on your thoughts about Dirty Dom.
So one thing I was shocked by is that now he's evolving as a character in terms of he's no longer the full chicken crap heel that we've grown to see in terms of him backing down. Now he actually got in Walter's face. That match started like that, where he got in his face, and then the match wasn't 50-50. I would say Gunther still had the 70-30, but Dom did a lot less bumping than he has previously, and you see it now changing. And then you hear the chant. Oh my God! When I heard the chant, I was like, "What?" Yeah, and it was amazing to me, but it makes sense because the people.
Yes.
Listen, most people like heels, right? They like bad guys. It's just how it's presented. And now he's not talking. Somebody pointed that out. No more speak. He doesn't have to speak anymore. So yeah, it's changing, and good for him. We'll see where it goes.
And even more so, what we're noticing is the fact that with his evolution of character, you're not hearing the canned booing that they used to do every time he would try to open his mouth. That's becoming less and less of a crutch to get him as a heel, because the fans are really into his character. It's like, hey, he's got Liv, he's got Rhea fighting over him, and all of these things going on, and he's got Raquel Rodriguez behind him and everything. All of the things that are happening for him successfully get his character over. And now the fans want to see where it goes from here. And the sky's the limit.
You can see where it's going because you see Finn Balor now trying to tell him how it's supposed to be done, how he did what he did in jumping Gunther after the match. And clearly, we might be seeing another, Damian Priest got jumped. We might see the rest of the Judgment Day now kick Dom out. And then the potential for a reconciliation to where maybe Dom or Mommy, maybe they get back together at some point, saving each other, which would be an amazing full circle storyline turn if they save each other somehow.
Well, last night, if you were watching SmackDown, I don't know if it means anything, but Nick Aldis was actually talking to Dom Mysterio in the background during, I think, Bianca and Naomi during their segment in the back. So don't know what that means. We know because of Raw going to Netflix, and I believe the rosters will be shaken up. So we saw Chad Gable last night. So who knows where that story may be going? Lord Isaiah, go ahead.
Yeah, they used the college football term. They called it the transfer portal.
Yeah.
Right. Look at Isaiah. Thank you very much for that question. And the fourth and final question of the day is from Hot Rod 316, Nate.
And it says, with a lot happening now, and it can go any direction in WWE, who would you like to see in the main events of both nights 1 and 2 of All In? Oops, I meant to say WrestleMania.
Wow.
And in addition, are you done setting up your GoFundMe account to buy WrestleMania tickets in the luxury suites for $20,000? At this point, WrestleMania tickets are going like Super Bowl tickets now. Oh, good grief.
Yeah.
But I digress.
That's the Nature's digressing on Hot Rod's question. Well, for night 1, to me, I don't know. I mean, because of the whole Punk and Roman thing,
right?
There's a lot of stories to tell. I don't know.
Yeah.
I still pencil in Punk Rollins for night 1 as the main event for the world title. We'll get to that some way, somehow. Who knows? Because of what happened on Monday night, maybe they bump that feud, or should they bump the match early on or earlier in the year? Who knows?
Royal Rumble.
Royal
Rumble, maybe Punk and Roman.
Could be Royal Rumble. The night 2. I mean, to me, it has to be Cody Rock or Roman Rock. Some variations, or maybe a 3-way, some kind of variation of that. I don't think Cody needs the main event if we go Roman Rock. But we'll see.
This could actually, if Cody is going into WrestleMania as champ, based on the stories that they're telling, this could actually be the fitting WrestleMania where Cody main events night 1 and not night 2, depending on what permeations happen between now and then. I think we can probably have a better grasp of where they're going by the time, not at the Royal Rumble, but probably just before we get to the Royal Rumble of where they're going. As far as night 1 goes, I can see a Cody main event on night 1. And then if you're doing, say, Rock Roman, I think based on that, that would have to be a night 2 main event. Whoever Cody would be in the ring with defending the championship with. And if it's connected to the Bloodline story in any way, then you can do what they kind of did last year with Cody having to wrestle both nights to see where they go. But I think that Roman is kind of penciling himself more towards that night 2 main event of whoever he's going to be in the ring with. We still have Walter. We still have to worry about what's going on with Seth, what's going on with CM Punk, because I think CM Punk is going to be main eventing one of those 2 nights based on how they're doing it. There's just so much, and we've got 4 months before we even get to WrestleMania.
Yeah, you know what the problem with 4 months is? We have 4 months for somebody to get hurt. We should throw everything up. We just witnessed Wargames. So while we want to pencil stuff in, who knows?
Yeah. Right. Thank you, Hot Rod, for that question. Again, if you have a question, you can always reach us all on social media handles. And next week, we will definitely put your questions on the show. So next topic, New Day. So I'll start with you, 411. We talked about New Day ad nauseum, in private chats and stuff like that. So to me, I was surprised the turn, which I was not expecting, for them to turn on Big E. But what are your thoughts on New Day and the way the segment went and how everything panned out?
Well, I loved everything about it. I mean, the fact that, and we got to witness it the previous week with Woods and Kofi going at each other backstage. And it just came to the ring, and then they turned on E the way they did. And the verbiage and everything, whoever wrote this, I don't know if they wrote this or if there's other people involved in the writing process. This was perfect. There was every word you were hanging on to see what they would say next and how they brought this man down. And his facial reactions to everything. And they're like just doubling down on making it worse and just saying the worst possible thing you could kick somebody when they're down. I mean, I should have written some of this stuff down, but I mean, what was the line? You broke your neck? Like you brought up.
So what?
Right. Yeah, so what? Exactly. So what?
You didn't even have surgery. Like, wow.
Amazing. And then talk about, let's be honest, you're never gonna be medically cleared. Do not lie to the people.
Yes.
I just hope now that New Day something comes of it, because now you want to see them. The problem is though, if they're heels, look who the tag team champions are. They're heels too. So
it don't matter to me. Because listen, look at last night's SmackDown tag team. Johnny Gargano and Ciampa. So, now that they are finally healed, and Johnny has rejoined the dark side, and now they're the tag team champions. Listen, I believe Kofi and X, Xavier Woods, I think it's just a matter of time before they take those belts off of Finn and look at this. I forgot who his tag team partner is. Oh my goodness.
Gargano and Ciampa.
No, I'm talking about on Raw.
JD McDonough. Yeah.
So you think about it. I mean, how often they even defend those tag belts? So to me, I think it's just a matter of time for X and Kofi regain those tag belts. But long-term storytelling, to me, what I took out of all of that, some way, somehow, Big E's got to return. And he's going to be, I believe, medically cleared sometime soon, because to me, that's what would make perfect sense on why they did this. What do you think, Nate?
I think that's where they're headed. If the best thing that a lot of these wrestlers can do is when they go on social media to keep their trap shut. And the reason why I say that is because if you're going to do an angle like this, but everybody knows, I was cleared 4 months ago. Well, we know where it's going. But if nobody knows this and you go into this and let's say they amp the angle up with all of a sudden something happens to Big E, like he's he's coming in the ring to try to bring them back together, and then all of a sudden, Kofi bumps into him. He falls off the ring, and he holds his neck. Like, wait a minute, and it's hard to believe. It's already been 4 years since his neck injury. And they've been talking about that. Like, it went that quick. Where did this come from?
And Ridge Holland is getting title shots. Unbelievable.
Yes, I understand. But if you're going to parlay that into a storyline that is going to be robust and is going to have a huge payoff, the best thing that they've done, which nobody saw this permutation of the storyline, where they teased the split between themselves, and then they brought in Big E to basically be the Band-Aid to try to put them together, only for Kofi and Woods to rip the Band-Aid off and then stick it in Big E's mouth. And they went everywhere. You care more about your girlfriend and your desk job than anything else about being with us. You could have been back here sooner, and I tore my muscles and had this surgery and everything else, and you weren't there. And it was as emotional a promo that I've seen on TV, to the extent that there were times when I couldn't even look at the screen sometimes because they were showing people in the crowd, and those fans in the crowd were absolutely losing it.
What happened to 411? I don't. What happened to 411? Why is 411 not even here? What happened? Nate, what are you doing? I know
don't look at me. I don't have any control over anything board related. So try to talk to your producer, who seems to be fumbling the football, if that's the case.
You know, I have to say, normally I do fire my producers, but this one here, he's been right here. He's done nothing.
So it's not on. It's not on him.
It's not even on this producer right here. Something is going on, and I will find out. What's going on. As far as New Day, like you said, Nate, emotionally invested. Definitely care right now about New Day and where their story is going. And again, and I must say this every single week: storytelling. It is important because you're emotionally invested. You are invested, and even if you didn't care about New Day from before, you care now. Believe you me. So that takes care of New Day. That takes care of all of those things. And then now it is time for our very final segment here on Saturday afternoon's main event. I don't know what happened to Mr. 411. Again, my apologies, Mr. 411. Don't know what happened. And Nate, what is going on here?
Once again, the creature of the night. Someone call 411. Ha 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 ha.
Not funny at all. I do not find that
seems like we got a troll in the message. There's
definitely a troll here on Saturday afternoon's main event. Keep your damn messages to your damn self, creature of the night. So anyway, now we'll get to our final segment here on Fame, and that segment is called Old School. So
we need to get some music or something for that segment. We got to get something going with that.
I agree. I'll talk to our producer about that. We'll discuss that after the show. Old School. Since Wargames, WWE last week was a Survivor Series now tradition. Let's talk about the very first Wargames, which happened on Independence Day, July 4th, 1987, at the old Omni Arena in Atlanta, and it was Team Dream, which was led by the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, against the 16-time World Heavyweight Champion, the Nature Boy, Ric Flair, in the Omni against the Horsemen.
Yes.
Indulge.
I find it funny that of all of the matches that we've seen, and of all of the wrestlers that we know, everybody knows you're a Taker fan, everybody knows I'm a Flair fan, that this would be the first match that we would talk about that would involve Ric Flair, and it probably a lot of people weren't thinking that. But this is a huge War Games themed show, and why not get to the progenitor of what started the War Games? And the reason why I say that, there is no Elimination Chamber without the War Games. There are a lot of scaffold matches happened before this, but the War Games was Dusty Rhodes' idea, where you got two rings side by side, encased in steel, a roof on the top, and it was Dusty Rhodes, Nikita Koloff, and the Road Warriors, and their manager Precious Paul Ellering versus the Four Horsemen. And this version of the Horsemen, this was Flair, Tully Blanchard, Arn Anderson, and Lex Luger with James J. Dillon. Without question, one of the most dominant forces in all of wrestling. And they had to sell this for the feud that they were looking for. And we know going in that Nikita Koloff was the main eyeballed person for Lex Luger, who had just recently joined the Horsemen. And you know the Horsemen needed to have gold. So they needed to have that gold. They wanted to focus that on Luger getting in and having that gold and trying to get the United States Championship in that match. So the thought process was, as the match went along, let's get to Nikita Koloff and do something that would kind of weaken him so that Luger would have a better chance to end up winning that United States Championship. So there was a spot during the War Games where they, get this, 2 spike pile drivers inside a cage would busted Nikita's neck up where he had to wear a neck brace for pretty much the rest of that summer. And that in turn, about a month or so later, a couple weeks later, led to Luger getting into a cage match with Nikita Koloff and winning the United States Championship, working on the neck and having that excuse. But as far as the War Games match, the concept of it, 2 men get into the ring. It was Dusty Rhodes and it was Arn Anderson. They fight for 5 minutes. Then they do a coin toss. One team gets an advantage. And back then, they actually used flags, a white flag and a black flag to determine who's going to come into the ring first to have that advantage, and then who's going to tie it up as the entire match went through. What do you think as far as this match was? Because this was, at the time, the most violent match I had seen in my young kid self.
Well, first of all, the fact that you were young, in the 80s, to me, that's just mind-blowing. One thing about this match, I mean, the pictures that you guys are seeing, if you're watching it on our social media handles, they're from the Orange Bowl, but the first War Games was at the Omni, because back then it was a whole tour that they did in that summer. You were saying, and pretty much the Horsemen lost pretty much every single War Games match.
Yes.
During the summer of 1987. But like you said, the Spike Pile driver. Yes, JJ Dillon did submit, and I know me and Chris and you talked about the original War Games last week. Made the mention of it. That's why we talked about it this week. At length. The way this match was constructed, and like you said, I mean, at the time, it was the first time we've ever seen anything like it. 2 rings, 2 cages, had a top over it, so you couldn't get out. And there were times where I was fearing as a young Dusty Rhodes fan. I was fearing for Dusty's life. It was 2 on 1, 3 on 2. But yeah, overall, it was a violent match, a great match with the stories in between, all layers within the match itself. JJ losing made the perfect sense. He was not a wrestler and he gave up. But overall, like you said, the 2 spike pile drivers, it was just unbelievable. Like, it's funny. What I always took from those matches, especially in the South, in Atlanta, was when when a babyface would make a comeback, you would hear Dusty Rhodes would you'd hear woo, woo,
yes,
woo.
yes.
Like back then, I mean, I love that. Again, War Games for its inception, it was a great thought. Dusty Rhodes came up with it. And we've seen Dusty talk about that, on WWE programming before he passed. And it was, like I said, those 2 teams going at it. It was must-see TV, and it was again a great event. I mean, a truly great and memorable event, which has lasted the test of time.
Yes. And the importance of it is it created another revenue stream for the NWA and Jim Crockett Promotions. It established you can have that blow-off type of match where you can get 10 of the best wrestlers that you can get, stick them in this kind of a futuristic contraption. And the one thing that's missed on those that might not have seen the show in the Omni was the laser show, the spotlights that they put on both cages, on both rings, that showed how big of a monstrosity this cage was. And if you're looking at it from that standpoint, you look at it and like, wow, look at this is huge. This is a spectacle. And the J.J. Dillon part of it, he was supposed to be put in a doomsday device, which is the Road Warriors finishing move, put a wrestler on your shoulders, Hawk comes off the top rope with the clothesline. Well, the roof kind of cut half of that height of clearance off. So what they ended up doing is doing a modified version, and it didn't end well for JJ. JJ got the clothesline, he lands on his shoulder, and immediately you can see his shoulder dislocated and popped right out of the socket. And as he rolled over after he was busted open by, of all things, one of the Road Warriors' spiked wristbands that Paul Ellering brought in as an equalizer since he was in the match. And then they just stomped him and choked him in the corner until JJ kind of submitted. That was the match. Submission or surrender. And there was no referee to come in to stop the match. The match didn't begin until everybody was in the ring. And the match ended with JJ having to go to the hospital. So, yeah.
Right. One final thing on that is that, when you're looking at wrestling now, but back then it was different. Like you said, the spotlight, the lights, being down, and then they're spotlighting the two rings, the cage, and everything like that. Like you said, it was a spectacle, and at that time, that was unheard of. So,
yes.
That's the importance of Wargames, and that, my friends, will mark the last edition here on Saturday Afternoon's Main Event. That was old school. Again, if you have a match that you guys want to talk about, or you feel like it was one of the greatest matches ever, you can reach us on all of our social media platforms and let us know. And if me and Nate, agree, and we will put it on next week. If not, me, Nate, and Mr. 401, we will collaborate again, and we will come up with a match that we feel is one of the greatest matches in professional wrestling history. So, folks, that will mark the end of Saturday Afternoon's Main Event. Again, I don't know where Mr. 401 went. I will talk to my producer after the end of the show. So, again,
some extreme technical difficulties.
Yes, a lot of difficulties today. Don't know why, but we'll figure it out. Don't know if this creature of the night had something to do with it, but again, we have a lot of questions that will be answered real quick. But anyway, for
the Peeps Nate, and for, of course, Mr. 411.
I am your other third co-host, your uncle, Triple C, saying we came,
we broadcast. That's it.
Thank you for the house. We didn't talk about deadline, but that my mic is muted.
Oh boy, we got to figure this out.
Deadline is tonight for NXT. Thank you for the house. We will see you next week.